The phrase "terminated due to incompetence" hung in the air, thick like a cloud, as Sophia rolled sneered from across her expansive mahogany desk. At 45, she'd forged her path by trampling on individuals like myself, or so she believed. "Emma," she intoned, her voice saturated with feigned concern. "Did you honestly believe you could persist in mediocrity? The Henderson Project was an utter failure." I held my silence, allowing her to revel in her perceived triumph. The Henderson Project had been executed perfectly, at least until her interference after she'd surreptitiously taken it from my workspace. That was the true catastrophe. No reaction? She reclined in her chair, satisfaction radiating from her features. "Well, I've already conferred with Human Resources. Your dismissal is immediate, and don't expect a recommendation from me. I'll ensure you're blacklisted from this entire industry." I activated my laptop, slowly, intentionally. "Actually, Sophia," I commenced, my gaze unwavering, "I believe we need to discuss the Henderson Project, specifically how you modified the complete proposal after you appropriated it from me." Her smirk wavered momentarily. "I have absolutely no idea what you're insinuating. Security will be here to escort you out within 5 minutes." "That's perfectly acceptable. I only require 3. I slid my laptop towards her. "You see, I possess the original proposal here, the one Mr. Henderson endorsed before you opted to overhaul it. Would you care to provide an explanation?" Her complexion paled. "Those are proprietary company materials. You're not authorized." "Oh, but I am," I interjected, my voice composed and steady. "You see, Mr. Henderson collaborates with me. Or, more precisely, he's employed by my company, Titan Innovations. Have you heard of it?" Sophia's flawless exterior fractured. Titan Innovations was the ultimate prize, the client her firm had pursued relentlessly for years. The enigmatic CEO, who shunned public appearances and communicated solely through designated representatives, had become her obsession. That's preposterous," she stuttered. "Titan Innovations is headed by—" I clicked, opening another file on my laptop. There I was, in full professional attire, Emma Carter, founder and CEO of Titan Innovations. Current market capitalization, $42 million. "No," she whispered. "Yes," I confirmed, unfazed. "When I initially joined your organization 2 years ago, my objective was to evaluate whether you could be a viable partner for Titan. I aim to observe your operations from within. And Sophia, I've witnessed it all." The security guard rapped on the door. "Ms. Reynolds, you summoned an escort." "Just a moment," I responded, maintaining unwavering eye contact with Sophia. "Sophia and I are concluding the details of her resignation." "Her what?" the guard inquired, perplexed. Sophia recovered her voice, now tinged with desperation. "This is ludicrous. You're the one being terminated. Security." "Shall I contact Mr. Henderson?" I inquired softly, arching an eyebrow. "Or perhaps the board would be interested in learning about your tendency to modify approved proposals. I have all the documentation, Sophia. Every project you commandeered, every cost overrun you inflicted upon this firm, every email where you claimed credit for someone else's efforts." Her hands trembled, panic overwhelming her. "You can't substantiate any of this." I retrieved my phone, playing a recording of her voice, crystal clear, instructing her assistant to remove my name from project documents and substitute it with hers. "I have 2 years' worth of this," I stated calmly. "And as of this morning, Titan Innovations now possesses a 51% stake in your company. You're welcome to verify that with the board. The transaction was finalized just moments ago." Sophia slumped back into her chair, her designer suit suddenly appearing ill-fitting, hollow. "Therefore," I continued, my voice firm, "you have 2 options. You can resign discreetly, right now, accept the basic reference I'm extending, and preserve some semblance of your reputation. Or I can present my evidence to the board and pursue legal action for fraud. You've been orchestrating this from the very beginning, she murmured, her eyes wide with astonishment. Since the day you appropriated my initial project and publicly humiliated me. Yes, I have. 2 years ago, I could have easily rejected her company's offer. However, watching her push others down to raise herself made me dig. The truth was worse: systematic manipulation, theft, and deception on a large scale. The resignation letter is prepared, I announced, sliding a document across her desk. You have 3 minutes before I contact the board. Her hand quivered as she grasped the pen. I didn't know. I didn't realize. That's been your consistent failing, Sophia, I remarked with a knowing smile. You never considered that the unassuming individuals might be formidable, too preoccupied with constructing your empire to comprehend that you were, in fact, laboring for mine. The security guard fidgeted uncomfortably near the doorway as Sophia affixed her signature to her resignation. I accepted the document and rose. Mr. Carter, I addressed the guard, please escort Ms. Reynolds to retrieve her belongings. And to Sophia I told the board convenes in 1 hour. I advise you to depart before then. I exited her office, now my office, and proceeded to my former desk to gather the few personal effects I'd left behind. They'd always been merely props, elements of the persona I'd adopted while assessing her firm internally. My phone vibrated, a message from Mr. Henderson. Is it accomplished? Yes, I typed back. The merger is finalized, and Sophia Rold has just tendered her resignation. His response arrived promptly. Couldn't have transpired to a more deserving individual. Dinner next week to commemorate? I smiled, remembering his fury upon discovering Sophia's unapproved alterations to his project. He'd been among my initial clients at Titan, and his steadfast backing had been instrumental in my company's growth. The office was abuzz with hushed conversations as I packed. Sophia's assistant, Rachel, approached tentatively. Security just escorted Miss Reynolds out. She was weeping. Indeed? I replied, meticulously wrapping the counterfeit family photographs I displayed on my desk. How peculiar. There's a rumor circulating that Titan Innovations acquired us, Rachel continued, and that the CEO is present somewhere in the building. I stood lifting my box of belongings. Rachel, could you please inform everyone that there will be a compulsory staff meeting in 30 minutes? I have some pronouncements to make. But you're departing, aren't you? I smiled, recalling all the instances Sophia had compelled Rachel to work late, appropriating her ideas while disparaging her contributions. Not at all, I stated, exiting the doorway. I'm merely commencing. I added, turning back. Rachel, I'm merely embarking, and believe me, you'll find the ensuing hours quite enlightening indeed. The conference room filled swiftly, the murmur of hushed voices reverberating through the glass partitions. Employees trickled in, their gazes darting nervously between their phones, already buzzing with the news of Sophia's dramatic exit, and me, seated at the head of the table. Is it accurate? Sophia's departure? But isn't that merely Emma from the accounting department? I rose, adjusting my blazer. Not the inexpensive retail version I'd worn as part of my disguise, but the tailored Armani I'd reserved in my vehicle for this precise occasion. The room fell silent. Good morning, I commenced, allowing the significance of my words to resonate. I'm certain you're all questioning the events unfolding today. Permit me to introduce myself properly. I am Emma Carter, CEO of Titan Innovations, and as of this morning, the majority stakeholder of Reynolds and Associates. The shock was palpable. Karen from HR fumbled her tablet. Tom from legal froze mid-sip of his coffee, staining his tie with a dark blotch. But you've been... Mark, one of Sophia's most devoted acolytes, stammered, his complexion paling. Working in accounting. Yes, I completed for him. Observing how this organization functions, and let me assure you, I've witnessed everything. I clicked a button, and the presentation screen illuminated. Let's discuss the future trajectory of this firm, but first we must confront the past. Slides appeared, one after another. Original project documents with names obliterated, credits reassigned, and intellectual property pilfered. Sophia had just taken my work. She had made a habit of robbing from everyone. Rachel! I addressed Sophia's former assistant, who had been attempting to remain inconspicuous in the corner. Would you kindly recount to everyone what transpired with the proposal you drafted for the Henderson account? Rachel's eyes widened. Did you? The one Sophia labeled mediocre before unveiling a virtually identical version as her own just 2 weeks later? The room was so hushed, one could discern the hum of the ventilation system. These practices terminate today, I continued. I've dedicated the past 2 years to documenting every instance of appropriated credit, every manipulated project, every instance of workplace harassment. Some of you were victims, some were enablers, and some of you simply remained silent to safeguard your positions. Mark extended a trembling hand. Are we being dismissed? That remains to be determined, I responded coolly. Titan Innovations believes in redemption, but we also believe in accountability. I clicked to the subsequent slide. Over the forthcoming week, every project from the past 2 years will be scrutinized. Original credits will be reinstated. Compensation will be rectified accordingly, including retroactive payment for misappropriated commissions. The room erupted into whispers as the magnitude of the situation became apparent. Rachel dabbed at her eyes. Her purloined commissions were irretrievable, but the validation she deserved was finally forthcoming. Furthermore, I continued, raising my voice to be heard, Titan Innovations is instituting a stringent anti-harassment protocol. No more intimidation, no more intellectual property theft, no more coerced unpaid overtime while others bask in the glory. Just as I concluded, my phone vibrated. It was a message from Sophia. You're prohibited from doing this. I erected this firm. I smiled sardonically, tapping my reply. No, Sophia, you didn't erect this firm. You appropriated it. By evening, the office atmosphere had already undergone a palpable shift. Sophia's name had been eradicated from the door. Her devoted supporters were frantically revising their resumes. Those she had wronged were finally vocalizing their grievances, recounting narratives of pilfered work and shattered self-assurance. A month later, the metamorphosis was irrefutable. Rachel, once disregarded, was now a project manager, her genuine capabilities finally acknowledged. Mark and his associates had resigned, preferring to avoid facing the repercussions. New policies were implemented to guarantee transparency and equitable credit allocation. As I sat in what had once been Sophia's office, 6 months following the acquisition, reviewing quarterly reports, I experienced a surge of gratification. Profits had increased by 40%. Employee morale had reached an unprecedented high. The corrosive culture that Sophia had cultivated was being supplanted by something healthier, more synergistic. My phone vibrated once more, a message from Mr. Henderson. Just secured the Peterson contract. They lauded our presentation as refreshingly candid. You've truly revolutionized things. I smiled, recalling Sophia's infamous assertion that business is about perception, not substance. She had been profoundly mistaken about that, and so much else. The intercom buzzed. Miss Carter, your 2 o'clock appointment is here. Send them in, I instructed. A young woman entered. Astute, competent, but visibly apprehensive. I recognized the same spark within her that I'd once possessed. Miss Carter, she commenced, her voice tremulous. Thank you for granting me this meeting. I'm interviewing for the junior analyst position. Sarah, correct? I gestured towards the chair opposite me. Enlighten me. What insights do you possess regarding our corporate ethos? She straightened, her voice gaining fortitude. You believe in attributing credit where it's deserved, in fostering individuals rather than undermining them. The industry is abuzz with how you've transfigured this place. And why does that hold significance for you? I inquired. Because, she replied with newfound conviction, I previously worked for someone akin to Sophia Reynolds, someone who perceived trampling on others as the sole path to advancement. I'd prefer to exert double the effort in an environment that esteems integrity. I scrutinized her for a moment, then smiled. You know, I've maintained this office precisely as Sophia designed it. The mahogany desk, the opulent artwork, all of it. Do you comprehend the rationale? She shook her head. As a perpetual reminder that appearances can be illusory. Sometimes the most perilous individual in the room is the one you're overlooking. Sophia never perceived me for who I truly was because she was too preoccupied with condescending to everyone she deemed inferior. I proceeded to the window, gazing out at the cityscape. The genuinely potent don't require pilfering credit or intimidating others. Authentic strength emanates from uplifting individuals, from constructing something enduring. I turned back to Sarah, and in her eyes, I discerned the same fervor I'd harbored when I founded Titan Innovations. The position is yours, should you desire it. Simply bear in mind, within this organization, we prioritize substance over perception, integrity over self-importance, and above all, we never underestimate anyone. Later that evening, as I was departing, I traversed the corridor where employee accomplishments were prominently showcased. Rachel's latest successful project, Sarah's acceptance letter, dozens of others finally receiving the commendation they merited. My phone vibrated one final time, a message from Sophia. I trust you're content. You've obliterated my existence. I contemplated responding, reminding her that she had obliterated her own existence through her actions. But instead, I deactivated my phone and proceeded to my vehicle. After all, triumph resonated more profoundly than any words ever could. The following morning, industry news outlets reported that Titan Innovations had just secured another substantial contract. The article extolled our reputation for integrity and innovation, and Sophia's name was conspicuously absent. Sometimes, the most exquisite retribution isn't about annihilating your adversaries. It's about constructing something so vastly superior that their endeavors to inflict harm become mere annotations in your narrative of success. As I entered the office, my office, I smiled, cognizant that somewhere Sophia was perusing that article, and at long last, she comprehended what she'd failed to discern for 2 years. Never assess an individual's merit based on their position. The unassuming individuals might very well be constructing an empire of their own.